a couple tricks to help you with your Cirkul bottle. Two things I'd like to discuss. One is storing the sips when you're not going to drink them all in a couple days, or if you want to switch out so you have a couple different flavors going at the same time. They say they want you to complete one of the sips within 10 days, and they say that because mold can grow on the inside of these, but there is a way that you can keep them indefinitely without that fear. I'll show you that, and I also will be showing you how to fix the issue of not tasting the sips, it not dispensing correctly. There's some tips and tricks on their website that tell you things to do. I'll go over those first. You should always try those first. They work most of the time, but there are occasions when nothing you do seems to work. And I also want to show you how you make sure that you're not throwing away product and costing you more. So the first thing is, if you want to store your sips for longer, or switching them out. I do this every time I switch out, just in case I don't go back to it within a day. That way I know that they're all good. But what you're going to do is, when you take your sip out, you're going to see that there's water on this. The first thing you want to do is wipe all that water off. Now, when you first take it out, you might have water inside there also. I do this to get as much out as I can at first, but you don't really have to do that. What you do is grab firmly with one hand on this one and the other on this, wiggle it back and forth, and you'll hear it pop off, and just pull it straight out. There's 3 rings that it will pop off of. Take that out, and you can either put a rag down in here, which is what I usually do, and just dry it out, or you can just set it on the counter and let it dry naturally for a little bit. You're also going to want to wipe off the bag, open the bag up. The first thing you do want to do, I'm sorry, I forgot, make sure this is on the X, meaning that it's closed so nothing comes out, and that your lid is closed. All right, so then you're going to wipe off all your water from here. Wipe off what you can in the rings and up here. Sometimes I'll take the hairdryer and just quickly blow it, but most of the time I just open it up, dry off what I can, and then I leave it sit on a towel on the counter for, a couple hours so it can dry on its own. Also, you want to open this up, and what I do is I tap it. I don't push on the plastic that's in there, but I just tap it to get what I can out. And sometimes I'll even, either, since it's off, either blow or suck, and the water will come out either side. And then, it's all dry in there. Then what you want to do when they're dry is put them back together and store them. I store them upright. You don't have to, but store them in a place that's dry. You don't want any moisture getting in them. And like I said, they say they want you to finish it in 10 days, but if you do this, you can keep them indefinitely. Now, the trick about if you're using your bottle and you don't seem to be getting any of the flavor, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you have it on a number and not on X. The first trick is to close your lid up here, take it from X to 10, back, and do that a couple times, and then try. If that doesn't work, the next trick they have on their website is, if you see this little tiny hole right here, that is the air valve that allows air to come in here to allow your bottle to dispense. If you turn it over, you will either have a round place or this little rubber nub. They say to wiggle it back and forth a little bit, and that's because sometimes it will get stuck and actually clog the whole entire thing. So if you wiggle it back and forth, it breaks it free. That works about 10% of the time, because that's about how much that's the problem. It's not very common problem with that. You can also run it under hot water or put it in the top rack of the dishwasher. Try it again. If that does not work, the next thing they say to do is to make sure that there's nothing on here. there is a little plastic valve here, and it goes on top. I think you can see that. It goes on top of the opening, and your flavor packet actually disperses out across the top of that, and your water comes up through. So you don't want to take that out. So just make sure nothing's over that, and that it's, you know, the way it's supposed to be. I didn't have, oh, and their last thing is they say to shake it. Shake, 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 and sometimes that gets any clog that may be in the valve to go out. I didn't have any luck with any of those. It wasn't just one sip. It seemed to be all of them that I had at the time, and I was frustrated. They don't want you doing this. They don't even want you to take it apart to dry it. But for me, I don't want to have to finish something in a certain amount of time or worry about mold. So I did it on one of mine to make sure that it didn't harm it, and it doesn't. So what you're going to do, if you still don't have any luck, open this back up like I showed to clean it. And what you're going to do is gently, okay, first turn it to 2. Open the lid. Gently open the bag a little bit. And I say gently because if you're too rough with it, you're going to squirt flavoring out. And then you're going to, starting at the bottom, straighten it out, and you're going to slowly and gently press on the bottom. And what you're looking for, you will either hear air coming out or you will start seeing product coming out. You're just going to squeeze it just a little bit until you see, did you see that bubble? See how it's bubbling? There's a little air in this one. Hear that? So you just gently squeeze, getting the air to come out. And once you have no air coming out and you see the little, okay, you can still hear air. Here, can you hear this? Keep squeezing until all the air's out and all you see, now did you see that come up? Now it's just product. What I do at this point, keep holding the bag to where the product is up in there. I dab it, I shut the lid, and I quickly turn it to X to turn it off. Now your air's all out of there. As you can see, this one still has quite a bit. I would say it's probably half full. And this is my coffee. I drank it every day for the last 10 days. So if that tells you anything. And this is just the little 12-ounce bottle. So I keep the coffee in that one because that's about how much I drink of it a day. Pop that back on. You're going to hear 2 to 3 pops. And you want to make sure that when you wiggle it, that it doesn't wiggle. If you don't get it all the way up, you're going to have play. You don't want that play. So just keep pushing until it's seated properly. Then put it back in. Make sure you have water in your cup. Make sure this is seated properly and tight. Turn it back to 2 or 3. I like 3. Open it up and try it. Now, you don't want to have to do that a lot. So I have tried to figure out a way to make that not a problem. Once you get the air out the first time and you have it in there, what I do is every time I take a sip, or every other time I take a sip, is I make sure that before I tip it up enough to get the water, that I suck a little bit first to get the air out, or try to get some air out. And you will know, because if you suck and there's no air, you will get flavoring and you'll stop. And then tip it up and get water in with it at the same time. I have to do that every now and then, but doing that as you're drinking is no big deal, because then you don't have to take it apart like that. They are working on that. So it has something to do with the backflow of air. They need to make their little plastic rubber gasket to be a one-way flow only. That way, when you take a sip and you let go, it doesn't pull air back in from the pressure. That may have to do with this this little airflow valve, they may have to put the airflow valve somewhere else. And the reason they don't just have it open is because then it's not leak proof. So if all else fails, you can take that valve out. I'm not sure how well it'll work, but where there's a will, there's a way. What I meant about my third tip is when you cannot get any more flavoring, what you need to do is open it up like I showed, and make sure that after if it looks like it has something in it and you've done it to make sure that all the air is out, if it's not completely flat, you still have stuff in it. There has been many people who's told me they've thrown theirs away as soon as they didn't taste any more of the flavoring, and that they were thinking it wasn't such a good deal because they were only getting 3 or 4 22-ounce bottles out of it. When I told them what to do for this little tip, when they were done and thought that it was out, they opened it up to make sure, and sure enough, it was about half full each time. So that saves a lot. I get about 12 22-ounce bottles out of mine before I have to open it up and squeeze it all to the top, and then I usually get 1 to 2 more bottles after that, but I do stay on 2 or 3. I just like a light taste. I hope this helps you.